Thank you for tuning in to Three Minds, One Mic. It's the regular folk talk show podcast, where we talk with regular folks about their opinions and perspectives on life and current events. With me always is Anthony and Radu, and we're glad that you tuned in. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Three Minds, One Mic. We're here today, and let's catch up with Radu and Anthony real quick. How you guys doing?
Doing good. How about you?
I'm doing all right. Nothing too major. Got that Lori video posted yesterday, so that's up and running. You got 4 views already. Woohoo!
So, I checked it out during the premiere.
Did you?
Caught,
that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think I might set that up again for all of ours to have the premiere like that. Because it even lets me know too, and so I could be on there. I posted a comment, that people can see. So, Radu, what's going on with you, sir?
No, not much. Same old. Working on the house, patching up drywall in preparation for painting.
Oh, nice. I thought you were already there.
We did the upstairs. Now we got to do the downstairs. Yeah.
Okay. And then the flooring is next?
The flooring is done too.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we're going to try to do the downstairs ourselves because it's just too expensive to pay somebody to do it.
Yeah. Did you watch them do it while they were working on it?
No, I was at work.
Some tips to the trade. Set some cameras up next time. You can
right.
Make them.
There's also YouTube, so.
True that, man. True that. I love YouTube for all kinds of things. Recipes, cars, even home repair stuff. So yeah, it's pretty fantastic. There is one guy I've seen on there before that he's like the dad nobody ever, somebody didn't have. And so he's on there just giving dad advice and like showing dad stuff. And I think that's pretty cool having that.
How to change a tire and stuff.
Right. Just basics. So I think that's really cool, especially now, this day and age. But super excited again. Another week in a row that we have a guest with us. It is a returning guest, and we're going to welcome him right now. Tyler, welcome back to the show. It's really good to see you, sir.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate the invitation again. I heard you mention the YouTube channel. It's called Dad, How Do I?
Oh, nice. Okay.
It does a lot of good things.
I'll even post that in the description of the video this time.
Yeah.
So Dad, how do I?
How do I?
That's awesome. That's brilliant. Yeah, I think that's such a great idea. I came across another page recently. It's this lady that's got music to color synesthesia. You heard of that? Like she hears music, but she sees color. Like she doesn't hear music, she sees color.
Yeah,
does that make sense?
Synesthesia.
Yeah. And so she's actually posting on Instagram what songs look like to her. And so it's really, I sent Anthony one. I don't know if he had a chance to see it yet, but it's really cool how she interprets the song, how she sees the music of the song, and just like, it's really interesting. So I thought I heard about that back in school a long time ago, and it's like, I think that's a brilliant thing to do when you have that condition like that, because it really puts you on common ground with a lot of people. It doesn't isolate you. I think it won't isolate you as much as it could, being in that, because that's a rare condition. It's not very often people have that. Anyway, what's going on with you, Tyler?
Into something unique and extraordinary for other people to enjoy.
Right.
Well, as I mentioned to you on the phone yesterday, I just finished my first college class I've taken in 9 years.
Wow. What was it for?
Took my final yesterday. It's a math class to catch up on a little bit of math. I will be taking another one that is more material to catch up on algebra here beginning in May on the 18th.
Wow.
I start that semester with the goal of starting to take college level math courses for credit, but I'm certainly not at the place with my knowledge where I can simply jump into that. I had to take a placement exam,
Right.
It's been way too long since I've taken an ACT. That was almost 20 years ago. But my placement test placed me about where I thought I was. So
nice. Well, that's good.
Yeah, I just wrapped that up. I'll be taking another one in May. I just went to the gym just a little bit. I find working out a little bit is going to make me sharper for things like this. I won't be quite so drowsy. So
Nice.
spent 20 minutes on the assault bike, did some bench, did some tricep push down. All in all, about 50 minutes there. And
Just kind of
then
get the blood flowing and the alertness going.
yeah, no, feel a little less sludgy mentally.
Mhm.
Let's see. Otherwise, I mean, more or less the same stuff. We are going to go to North Dakota this summer for a wedding,
Oh, nice.
and then maybe go out of country. I'm not going to say too much about it, but maybe go out of country later this year for another wedding.
It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I've never been out of country,
Yeah, me neither. Yeah. Not even
but
Mexico.
the United States are pretty darn big. So a lot of folks who are foreign, I'll say to us, who are astounded that you've never traveled out of country, don't understand the size of the state. I think
Right.
by landmass, I think we're the fourth largest nation on the planet. It might be the third. Um,
Yeah, it's saying
and
a lot too, because we are
yeah,
pretty big.
traveling to North Dakota in a car at 60, 70 miles an hour is 19 hours.
19.
Wow.
Yeah. And how
That's
many
how
if you
big
go
the
over to
states
Europe
are.
or something, how many countries are you gonna go through in 19
You could
hours?
probably travel from like Portugal to Turkey
Yeah.
in 20 hours at that speed.
Almost the whole continent.
Cover all of Europe, pretty much.
Yes. Yeah, probably. You know, um, Texas is bigger than Germany, you know.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. I didn't even know that. I know Texas is big, but yeah, I didn't know
Yeah.
comparatively.
It's just if you overlay a lot of nations on the continental US, we can cover a lot of ground. So I haven't taken a serious road trip more than, oh my gosh, farther away than like Las Cruces in 3 years
So
since
about
before we
4
moved.
hours.
Yeah. So, you know, I look forward to it. That isn't that interesting, but I still look forward to it. I've never been to the Midwest. I've never seen Nebraska or a Dakota. I assume when you see a little bit of it, you've probably seen most of it. You know,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
not like New Mexico where we've got high desert and the mountains, and you know, the northern part of the state is far different than the southern part of the state. East is different than west, that kind of thing. It's I have been to, oh my goodness, is it Idaho? Idaho is the one in the Midwest. I've seen Idaho. I've seen a lot of Illinois.
Huh.
That is cornfield. It is
Yeah. Yeah.
like
I think
Kansas,
I drove through some of them, but yeah, I don't remember just flat
wall to
land.
wall, cornfield and gas stations and silos. Like, that's
That's the Great Plains. That's the Great
the
Plains of America.
entire state. Yeah.
I think I remember driving from New York. Pennsylvania was the most boring because we went
Really?
catty corner like through the, it's a long state, and so we went catty corner through it, and it's just hills, like not mountains, not big hills,
Yeah.
just green hills, forever, and just forever for like 7 hours of driving through that. Oh,
Did
barn.
any
Oh, cool. Then more green hills, and then oh, look, another barn. And that was
any cities driving through?
no. Didn't drive through any major cities. Didn't go through like Philly or Scranton. That would have been cool. Go to Scranton.
Yeah.
Of course, I was an office
Philadelphia,
fan then.
Pittsburgh, Scranton, Allentown, or what's number 5? I can't
Philadelphia,
remember number 5.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I
it.
don't know much about them. Just I think
Yeah.
the 3 because Scranton because of the office, and then
Yeah.
Philadelphia, and you said the other one. And I can't remember it already.
Allentown.
Allentown, Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. Yeah, Pittsburgh. So,
Yeah, it's coal country.
yeah,
You know,
it's Amish country too because there was a lot of
Western.
barns, and there was a lot of houses that had the they're not omens, but they're like protectors or something. They always hang something on the barn doors, like a triangle or a cross, or there's always something there, and it's a protective, like old school thing that just a tradition in Pennsylvania to hang those over your barn. So it was pretty interesting seeing a lot of that.
I do like those different looks. You know, when I go to my dad's house, which has been a few years, admittedly, he lives near Houston.
Oh,
But the area of Texas he lived in, like much of the coastal plain of Texas, was settled heavily by Germans and
right.
Scandinavians and like Germanics. So there's a lot of Czech, Danish, German,
Austrians.
Polish, Austrian. Yep, a lot of that there. And you travel through the place, you even see it in the food, you know, stuff like kolaches and Polish sausage, and the Texas smoked culture comes from a lot of what slaves brought, and
Oh, right.
a
Yeah.
whole lot of what Western Europeans brought.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's pretty much what America is, right?
Yeah,
Europeans and slaves.
I'll be completely honest with you. I've grown up in New Mexico and Texas. That's my entire life, and I cannot imagine going somewhere without Mexicans. and that is because that's the other piece that's so heavy in our DNA, at least in the Southwest. Like
Mm.
I can't. I've been to the Northeast before, and looking around, it's just so weird. Like you're
is.
missing that fingerprint. It's so strange.
It is
And
interesting. It's an interesting
New
concept for
Mexico, we
real.
also have the native thing too. Like
Right.
in that's in the soil. And even Texas. Like I go to Dallas and I look around and sure there are Mexican people, but like it's not like it is here. New
Really?
Mexico has some old
Oh, right.
fusion of
Yeah.
course, of native and European,
Well,
like
yeah, but
nowhere else.
yeah. Well, yeah, nowhere else. Arizona would probably be close.
Santa
But that
Fe
was
is
all
the
part of
oldest
Mexico,
capital.
right? I mean,
Yeah,
that was all part of Mexico back in the day, all the way up to Colorado and Utah. So,
It's
but
part of New Mexico too, man.
right.
At one point.
it was. Yeah, I like all that. I have a horrible memory for facts and figures, but New Mexico is particularly fascinating because we have like Taos and Acoma Pueblo, some of the longest continuously inhabited places
Right.
in the entirety of North America. Some of the
Really?
yeah, like Taos Pueblo. There have been people
Wow.
living in Taos Pueblo, except for a few fits and starts, for 2,000 years.
Holy cow. Well, I mean,
Acoma goes
I
back
knew for like
farther.
America, like the Americas as far as United States goes, but I thought like upper north, even Alaska would have a long.
No, we're talking like permanent,
Wow. Okay.
habitated, settled places.
That's pretty cool. I
Yeah,
didn't know that.
Acoma and Taos Pueblo. And Santa Fe is the oldest state capital, I think, going
Right.
back to 1620.
Yep.
Yeah, that I knew.
Oldest.
Pretty
Yeah.
unique. The oldest European city other than St. Augustine, Florida, in the entire United States.
Jeez.
Yeah, New Mexico goes back. It's very cool.
So I don't know the timeline. Were the conquistadors before they weren't before the colonists, right? The conquistadors were like 1800s,
Before the English and the
1700s.
French?
Yeah, they weren't before
No,
the English and the
They,
French.
late 1500s.
yeah, they were
The
the
Spanish?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
They
So
came.
go ahead,
Okay.
Anthony.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
Now, I was going to say the Spanish were traveling up the Gulf and exploring a lot of the entire eastern coast of the United States and South America when, what's his name? John Cabot? That's his English name. He was French. I can't remember what his actual name is. Oh, no, he was Italian. When he was just starting to like map out certain parts of the west coast of the US.
Oh wow.
So places like Roanoke are like 60 years behind Spanish settlement of New Mexico.
Jeez.
Yeah, they were
So they
here
hit Roanoke, and then
fast.
60 years later, they made it here.
The
That's
English, sure.
insane.
Took a lot
English,
longer than
yeah.
that.
It took longer than that.
But I will sit on like Wikipedia because it's so condensed. I will sit there and I'll just every couple of months I will be reading for hours and hours and hours about
Right.
the exploration and settlement of the Americas because I think it's just the coolest thing in the world. And I like that you can go somewhere like the Palace of the Governors in Santa Fe and you can see some of that idea of exploration and a lot of heinous stuff like I'm aware. But I think that's what's very cool about New Mexico is that we have some of the oldest stuff you can touch in at least the United States. There's older stuff down in Mexico, but
Right.
like Europeans, people in Asia, Africa, they've got lots of stuff that goes back thousands of years. We don't really have much that's permanent here in North America that goes back like that, especially in the continental states. New Mexico, though, Acoma, Taos Pueblo, like places like that, we actually have really, really old stuff. Um, it just shows the fingerprints of the humans here way
Yeah.
back then. I think it's incredible.
Petroglyphs and all that. Yeah. You got a lot.
Mm-hmm,
We have a lot of
That's just
history
a.
here and a lot of culture, like a lot of mixed culture. Oddly enough, it's
Yeah, that's what I was
really
talking about a little
interesting.
bit ago. Very cool.
Yeah. That's very awesome, man. I've only been in New York and here, and New York, I really wasn't too interested in any culture or anything. More so now than I ever was. In fact, I did the Wikipedia rabbit hole for the French Revolution just recently, actually, and how some of that kind of came about and what it produced and all that. Because I remember taking a history course years ago when I was in school like years ago, 2017 or so. It was just so fascinating. He taught from like the end of the Crusades to World War One, and it was just incredibly fascinating. And it's amazing to see how much history repeats itself, and how much you see the common themes that kind of pass through things. Humanity is just amazing to me because human behavior doesn't seem to change all that much,
No.
even over generations. And so it does fascinate me.
Our technology and culture changes, but our behavior doesn't.
Right. Yeah, we're quite predictable, which is interesting that they need so much surveillance on us to map out that predictability. So, I mean, yeah, we're fairly creatures of habit. You know what I mean? That's what we are. And change takes a lot, which is why it's got its own genre of therapy. Cognitive behavioral therapy is to teach you how to be aware of your behavior and what triggers it and how you can make changes to just. And it takes work, it takes mindfulness. It's just amazing how much we're on cruise control, just going through. Then you
Oh,
bring up stuff like how long we've been a civilization here in New Mexico that people don't even know is part of the United States. And it's like we have the oldest civilization in this country that's here on this landmass of the Americas, which I really honestly didn't know until right now. So I
and
think
all
that's
of the
really cool.
and two in United States history, like I'm not terribly well educated on this, but I understand the broad strokes is that most um, f- folks living on reservations and pueblos all across the United States and in a large part of Canada, those aren't their ancestral lands. They're somebody's ancestral lands, but they're not these people's ancestral lands. So, like Oklahoma and the Cherokee tribe, those people from there, they're pushed there as far as like New York, Florida, like the Seminole down in Florida being forced to migrate to this
Right,
dusty patch of garbage in Oklahoma, lest you know, lest they be killed. They're
right,
forced to resettle, and now that's their homeland. But they weren't there. New Mexico, Arizona, like I think a lot of the Navajo Nation specifically, there are people here who have this is their ancestral homeland. Like Taos Pueblo again, I think that and Acoma, those two places are incredible because you have people whose families have lived there probably to some degree for millennia.
wow.
That is incredible. You don't see that too much in the states.
Hmm. No, you don't. No, you don't. And it's weird that it is only there because there isn't much on the Canadian border and obviously on either ocean, so you're not going to have much there either. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It's
Yeah,
interesting.
so I cruise around specifically. I like here in Albuquerque. I think Unser's a good way to get from the north end of town to the south end of town.
Yes, sir.
It's and you drive by the petroglyphs, and when we drive by the petroglyphs, I know that there's that human touch on those things, like you alluded to a few minutes ago.
Right.
And I will sometimes I'll be at that some of those stoplights. You're just next to some playground or whatever, but you know that on those petroglyphs, some human at some point was gouging into that with a rock or whatever, however they did it. I think they scratched in, and I picture more or less the landscape being about the same. We haven't done a lot of earth moving here in Albuquerque over the last 300 years.
No.
But at some point, human beings were up there scrambling in that rock miles and miles away from the river, like, probably had their homes and their village or like however you lived spread all across the shadow of where the petroglyphs are now. And
Well,
I will literally be like envisioning this stuff and imagining I am traveling where these people also traveled. It's astounding to contemplate.
right. I love seeing those posts like on social media or whatever where they show, Albuquerque 18 to 89, and then it shows now and it's Montebo. But before that, it was just dirt and a path, like a wagon path going through. And it's like, wow, this is. And then it's even shorter time ago past Coors. There was nothing past Coors like 15, 20 years ago. Now look at it, it's all built up like this. And I got friends that live that, they're like hanging out in the Mesa all the time. And it was just past Coors. And it was just all Mesa out there. It was like nothing. I'm like, wow. And I live, what, 2 miles north or west of Coors now? And it's just neighborhoods. And you would never know that it was just nothing like fairly recently. Mexico's astounding. It really is a different place.
And y'all who live here, Radu, I don't know if you live here, but I know Anthony and Michael do.
No, I'm
You
on
live
the
here.
East Coast.
Okay, you're on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Well, you have the opportunity to ponder this and appreciate it as you poke your way around even town, like Old Town Albuquerque. We've got old stuff. We have old churches here. The oldest church in the nation's in Santa Fe, just like the
Right.
oldest Capitol building, the Palace of the Governors. You know, we just have such an opportunity to think. Los Alamos has some interesting tribal habitation history, way up there on the along the canyon. Very, very interesting. And more or less everywhere we've settled, everywhere, somebody was living in at some point because
Right.
it's just smart places to park. Other than like the southeast part of town of the state, a lot of that's because of railroads and oil. But
Mhm.
yeah.
Still
Anyway,
is.
I'm just it is,
Still
it
is.
is.
Yeah.
I'm just rambling at this point. It's stuff I really, really do think about and I find incredible. And I wish I could remember more facts and figures because I could ponder it harder if I could.
Right. Well, that's what the show's about. You know, it's what you're passionate about, what people are passionate about, and showing that commonality that we all have. You know, and we're all passionate about something. And I think it's most interesting talking to someone when they are talking about something they're passionate about because you see, like, you light up. You know what I mean? You're talking about something you really enjoy, something you like, something you know about, and it just lights a person up whenever they do that. So don't ever apologize for rambling on this show because yeah, that's what we're all about, man. Um, but I was recently thinking along the same lines here. You know, I was kind of thinking recently how I have a deeper understanding of indigenous than I used to. You know what I mean? And how we are literally going to get charged. We can pay for water now, but it's going to be a lot worse here. Pretty, I think, my opinion, it's going to be worse here pretty soon. Like we're paying to exist, and you didn't have to do that. You had to work to exist. You know what I mean? You had to hunt, you had to gather, you had to do what you had to do, but you have to pay for it. You know what I mean? And now we have to pay for it because we don't hunt and gather. We go to the store, we go to the office. We That's our hunting and gathering now. And so it's just very interesting how somebody can just arbitrarily put price tags on things that were for millennia free. You know, that were just there. So that's what I've been pondering
Thank
lately.
you.
So it's interesting you brought that up about the oldest civilizations and how we, especially New Mexico, is home to some of them comparatively to the rest of the United States.
Well, I also, you know, there's a certain amount of romanticization you can apply to that kind of lifestyle, of course, but then I think about allergy season. I think I would have died at 8
Takes all
years
the
old.
romance away.
Oh, yeah, I would have died of hay fever at 8 years old if I didn't have antibiotics. You know, first ear infection, I'm gone. I'm out.
Right. Fair enough. Fair
So
enough.
I know that, and in my line of family, I know I have parents and grandparents who have allergies too. So I know that at a point, our bloodline has been encouraged by medical science and human development. And I'm so pale. I sunburn so fast. I am not made for the blaring New Mexico sun.
No.
Yeah, look at me. I could just see on this camera right away. I'm the pinkest thing in this entire in all these videos.
I don't know. You and I do are pretty close.
I stand out.
I think it might be the lighting. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, that's probably part of it. But I stand outside here in Albuquerque. You know, we're high altitude. That doesn't help.
Right.
You know, the higher you are in altitude, the less UV gets reflected back up into wherever. But
Well, weren't we
15
like
minutes. 15 minutes. I
you're
burn.
cooked? Jeez.
Dang.
And do you continue cooking, or will you tan after your initial
I won't.
burn?
I don't tan.
Ever? Ever? Wow.
This on my forearm and with lighting and on this video, it's hard. That's as dark as I will ever get.
It's your driving arm, right?
No. This is my driving arm.
Oh my goodness.
There
There is
That's as
quite a
dark as I'll
difference.
get. Yeah. I
Oh my
burn,
goodness.
then I'll be a little more pink, and then I'll turn white again.
Wow. I used to burn all the time, but I'm Italian, so I got that olive skin already, so I tan very easily. But yeah, I burned. I burned just because I spent a lot of time in the sun as a kid. My shoulders and my nose and stuff, especially go swimming all day. But then I'd be tan the rest of the time. My brother used to go outside with copper tone tanning solution, like tan spray. It didn't make him tan, but it helps you. Like it's like essentially oil, and you're cooking yourself more in the sun because you got oil on your skin now. You do that every
It's like
every
basting.
summer, getting tanned up. It's probably better than a tanning booth. It was like, yeah, he was basting exactly like Kramer in when you put the butter on him.
That's right. No, yeah, I'm gonna circle back to this because if I don't say it, I'm gonna die right here in this chair. Um,
Well, don't do
language
that.
is another thing that's really cool that shows the footprint of humanity. I learned this only a few months ago. Did you know that we have old, like classically southwestern, old school Spanish names that are Irish?
No.
And I can only think of one example right now, Gurule. That
Okay.
name you hear, people here, it's really New Mexican. All these conquistadors, it's not just a bunch of military dudes, they brought a whole lot of people from Mexico, like a bunch of oh, I can't remember the name. They started with a T. They brought hundreds of people up from Mexico to help them pacify the tribes here. Basically, like natives who are like, yeah, we're gonna follow you so we don't get whooped.
Right.
They also had a whole bunch of people working for them that they sailed over with, support staff, whoever else. A bunch of those were Irish indentured servants.
Oh wow.
And a lot of those guys just settled, you know.
Huh.
They settle in New Mexico, they settle in northern Mexico. It's a list as long as my arm. I can't remember any other example, but um yeah, if you just look it up on the internet, you just say Spanish names of Irish origin, you'll find it. There are French ones too. Same
Yeah.
idea. Just French people who came over here with the Spanish. And that is buried in this classic New Mexico language and like culture is all these names that you don't see in other places settled by the Spanish, by the way. You
Right.
don't see them in the Caribbean, you don't see them in Florida, but you barely see them
Huh.
in Mexico, but you see them all over New Mexico.
Well, you would think
Really
the
super
French, you would
interesting.
kind of see. I mean, because Irish and indentured servitude, you've heard about that. I mean, they came over to the New York too. You know what I mean? They came through Ellis Island, along with Italians and a lot of other minorities that came over at that time, and they were all the kind of the same boat. They were all poor. They were all either indentured servants or they owed somebody that got them there, or they showed up with nothing and had to build up from. But that was the golden promise too. It's like come to America, there's work, there's this, it's the land of opportunity, and then you get here and you're just another worker until they started doing stuff for themselves. So it's interesting because the French, I know the French like did settled a lot in Canada, along with the Danes. They were up
Well,
there in Canada too. But the French also like came through the South as well, like
yeah.
Barbados and area and Haiti, and I mean, so it's kind of interesting that it came through the Gulf and ended up here, and they settled here.
But the
There's
phenomenon
something
that
even before that.
the specific phenomenon though are Spanish names of French or Irish origin. So they were with the Spanish, they were working for the Spanish, and
Oh,
Spanish
okay, I see.
Spanish is the language that stuck. The French didn't stick, English didn't stick, or and whatever Irish language they were speaking at the time, I'm sure they had their own native tongue, Gaelic or whatever. But
Interesting.
everybody
Okay.
spoke Spanish. You settle, you marry somebody native or you marry somebody Spanish, have kids, they're all speaking Spanish. Everybody's speaking Spanish. The name that you gave everybody, it's recorded in, how do you say it, Hispanized? Like you would have an anglicized name, you have a Hispanized
All right.
name.
Right.
Yeah, it's made into Spanish. So we have all these
Oh,
old school New
okay.
Mexican names that are French or that are Irish. I think it is so cool.
That is pretty
I,
interesting.
I,
Yeah.
I
I
never even
love
thought of
little
that
stuff like
aspect of
that.
it.
It's the neatest thing. I,
Yeah, because we don't think of we think of the people like even Columbus. We think of him coming along just by himself, but 3 ships. They had no, that was different. But yeah, they have all kinds of people on those ships with them. I didn't even
right?
think of that aspect of it.
Just a bunch of people who work, like the French Foreign
Yeah.
Legion, depositing all sorts of people all over northern Africa.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, I got that out. That was just something I wanted to share earlier when I was thinking about it, because that every time I see it, I just read through it and I go, I know these people, and their name is 400 years old, translated, so to speak, or at least recorded in Spanish from Irish, English, French, whatever, until you just assume it's Spanish.
Right. Wow. That's crazy.
That's pretty
Huh.
interesting.
So you're working on your school. Last time we had talked, you were really starting to get back into the powerlifting. Obviously, you're still working out because you were just at the gym.
Yeah.
What's going on there? Any changes with that? Are you still doing powerlifting or kind of all around?
Slowed down on the heavy strength training just we're talking months now where I'm lifting, but just not so heavy hard. I'm kind of in my own head about my back.
Okay.
I don't have any injuries, not anything like that, but 36 years old pretty soon. I don't want to create back problems. So squatting and deadlifting, I don't know that I need to try to make that as heavy as I've been trying to do.
Right. That's
So
understandable.
I'm taking a step back and I'm trying to change my mindset a little bit where I don't have to do everything when I go work out. I can do a little bit of something and it still counts.
Right.
And this mindset that I have to go all out when I go to the gym. I need to go for an hour and a half. I have to do heavy deadlifts, then a bunch of shrugs, then rows, then this, that, follow it up with a bunch of, assault bike or interval workout. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. Has kept me probably from getting in shape for a long time because I thought, and I've convinced myself, if I don't do everything, it's not worth it.
Right.
But doing something is not nothing. So I've been doing a little bit less on purpose, not pushing myself so hard specifically to try to get into that habit. So maybe I will be more consistent if I don't have these lofty expectations that every time I go, it has to be a lot.
Right.
So like today, I did 20 minutes on an assault bike, an Airdyne bike, some light intervals and just some pedaling. It's the one where you pump your arms and your legs at the same
Oh,
time.
okay. Okay.
Then I did some sets of bench, few sets to warm up, and then 4 sets of 225 pounds, 5 reps each. Just, like not heavy, 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 but certainly heavy enough to work out and not too many sets and not too much weight, but some.
Right.
And I did a bunch of tricep push downs and then I took off to head back home to change.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you
So-
feel accomplished and just fine doing that, right?
Yeah. And it woke me up.
Good.
Yeah. 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 And I intellectually, anyone else, my wife reminded me of this just before this call. I would be telling anyone else, good job, you got there, you're doing good stuff. And I'm trying to convince myself so I can start listening to myself.
Good.
So I can feel what I know intellectually. And the other thing I told you, I quit using nicotine.
Right. That's right.
18 years. I
Wow.
never smoked, but I dipped and I vaped and I used nicotine-free pouches, like Zen type stuff. We know how hard that is to quit.
Yeah.
You don't have to spit. It doesn't stink. Like, it doesn't intrude on anyone other than maybe,
Nice.
somebody you're sharing finances with. But for 10 months, I was working my dose down in these pouches that I'm always using until on March 16th, I was on gum, like Nicorette.
Right.
I ran out in the morning of March 16th and I haven't bought any more.
Congratulations, dude.
Nice.
Thank you.
Congrats.
That is awesome.
Half of my life I've been using that stuff.
Wow.
I haven't
Now
gone
you're
this
free
long
of it.
without it. Yeah.
Now you're free of it. That chain
And
is broken.
Yeah, and it's not as, I don't know. Other people say you never get over it, but I will say, like, I'm not constantly thinking about it now. I was having some insomnia problems my first 3 weeks,
Oh wow.
but it's been about 5 weeks now, and I'll say the last couple of weeks I've been sleeping pretty well.
Nice.
I am eating too much, which
I
I've
was going to
heard
ask about that.
happens. I've
Yeah.
heard happens, yeah, because nicotine's an appetite suppressant. But I had titrated down. It's a little bit of a grand term to use for it, but I had been using 8 milligram nicotine pouches for a few years, and I cut down to 4 milligram, and I was on that for like 5 months. Then I cut down to 2 milligram, and I was on that for about a month. Then I switched to 2 milligram gum, same dosage, but it doesn't punch as hard as these little pouches that are designed
Right.
to addict you, And I was on that gum for for 6 weeks, I think. Maybe it was just one big box that I got from Walmart, and I ran out. I think if I had tried to stop cold turkey at 8 milligrams, I'd probably have a lot harder time if I hadn't been kind of in
No.
withdrawal constantly for 10 months because I keep dropping the dose. So
Yeah, it's definitely a lot. That I did the same thing. I went from smoking to vapes and patches and the vape. So the patches are time release. So
Yeah.
every now and then you'll get that boost and you're fine. But I needed before, and I was on the highest patch because I just smoked like a train. But I would do the vaping, and then I stopped the patch, and I was just doing the vaping, and then the vape would leak, and I got tired of it, and I'm just like, I'm done, I'm done, and I wasn't smoking, and I quit smoking for like about a month, and I was smoking a lot of weed, rolling a lot of joints, so I still had the hand to mouth thing going. I just didn't have the nicotine. And that's actually part of it was because I was trying to get surgery, weight loss surgery at the time,
Oh yeah.
and you can't smoke with that, so. And I didn't get it, so I went back to smoking. Yeah.
Well,
Just, here I am again, kicking myself that I should have stopped either way, whether I got the surgery or not.
but well, sure. One of these things though is accepting where you are and not steeping in regret.
Right. Yeah, because you can't change it.
No,
Can't.
you can't change it.
So-
And this is something that I've been working out in therapy that I've been doing most Sundays, almost every Sunday. I think I've had maybe 5 in the last year where I haven't done therapy on a Sunday.
Wow.
And it's not cognitive behavioral therapy, it's dialectical behavioral therapy. It's how you interact with yourself in response to external stimuli, the kind of
Okay.
language you use mentally and the way you respond to things.
Right.
And one of the first things they introduce is radical acceptance, not beating yourself up over stuff. I'm a year in. I'm certainly not good at that. Oh my gosh, I make a mistake and I sit with it and I ruminate and I beat myself up over it, and it's not productive.
Right.
It doesn't stop me from making other mistakes. I'm wasting my energy and hurting myself. But I think just knowing that it wouldn't be the end of the world if I backslid on my nicotine hiatus or quit, probably equipped me to make all of those decisions to reduce, and then stop.
Nice. That makes a lot of sense because that's a lot of pressure you relieved off yourself. And
Yeah,
so,
I think so.
Right on.
I think knowing that I had an out, I don't know, just made me feel like I could do it.
and it was right there if you need it. So you had a cushion. There's no fear.
Yeah.
Might as well. Right on, man. It's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
I have issues too with that. You know what I mean? Especially that mental. Hello, are you guys with me? Oh, okay, there we are. With that mental talk, you know what I mean? And I'm very encouraging to anybody else. Same thing. If you go to the gym for 10 minutes, dude, you did something. That's awesome. That's better than 0 minutes. But myself, I'm like 10 minutes. It's gonna take me that long to walk in. It's not even worth it. I'm at a gym and a walk. Just all these stupid thoughts going in my head. Where other people will point out to me, or even if I sit logically for a minute, like, first of all, people are at the gym for them. They don't give a shit what you're doing. You know what I mean? Nobody's all watching you and your walker. They don't care. They're doing their own thing, and you're doing your own thing, and you go do it. And for me, it's like, well, you got to the gym, you got out and walked inside. That's more than you've done in the last 6 months. So you've already accomplished something there, and now you're inside. So you might as well hit a machine. You might as well do something. You know what I mean? Like, you're here. So it's kind of cool. It was kind of cool to have that mentality of, I need to go in and I need to lift and I need to get on the walking thing and I need to do my legs and I need to do my shoulders and I need to do. No, you don't. You just got to get in there and do something. Just do something.
100%.
So yeah, that makes a huge difference. And I think probably these guys have experienced that as well, I'm sure, in their life. We're just this personal pressure we put on ourselves. I mean, everybody does, right? Like the what ifs.
Yeah.
You have all this pressure on yourself, like, and then the thing goes to pass and it was nothing like what you thought it was going to be. You know?
Yep.
We tend to make it worse in our heads.
Right. Quite creative we are. Quite creative. I just read something else too. It's like, well, instead of worrying about the what ifs, what could go wrong, why don't you start worrying about what could go right? Like start looking at all the things I could be right about this decision or choice or whatever, as opposed to just thinking about, well, oh, I can do this and hurt myself, or I can do that, blah, 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 talk yourself out of it. So
Yeah.
I commend you. That's awesome.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm really working hard to try to feel the things that I would feel towards another person who I care about if they were making little successes like this. I would be proud of them. I do not. I do not feel proud of myself. It's like a wall inside. You know
I do.
and that's something else to work on. How do you like yourself? How do you possibly? Most of my problems I've created. Okay,
Yeah.
if I look around me and all the people who are in my life, a bunch of seats are filled with these human beings in this mental picture, and one of them's a mirror. And I got to pick the guy who creates most of my problems. I'd point at that mirror and say it's him.
Yep.
And if I have somebody else constantly creating problems in my life, do I like them? Do I feel proud of them when they just like stop creating one of my problems? No. No, no, no. It's just more like, okay, about time. We should have been doing that all along. So, this is I've got a whole lot of self-defeating thought patterns like that
Right.
keep me from being able to feel pride and um I don't know, satisfaction, senses of accomplishment over good things. It is a little bit of relief that I feel usually.
Yeah. That's too bad, man. That's a hard mindset to change. And how are you? So you're very encouraging to people, obviously, that you care about. How are you when it comes to people making mistakes and messing up? And it's like, do you get mad? Do you freak out and be like, they should know better? I mean, how do
Oh,
you react
it
to that?
depends on the scale of the offense, really. I mean,
Right.
generally speaking, I think I give most people a ton of grace. I just assume, broadly speaking, that they're dealing with a lot, and that whatever this mistake is probably a tiny little peek into the broader landscape of their lives. And that to a point, I compare myself to them and assume I make these mistakes so easily, and sometimes I feel powerless in making them. They probably feel the same way.
Right.
It's not always the result of your decisions. Sometimes there are things that are out of your hands.
There are a lot of external things, actually, more than we
Yeah.
think. But we're human and we're top of the food chain. So if we can't control it all, we're failing. If we can't, make it happen our way, we're failures. And that's just not true. That's just not the way it works. So,
Well, we fundamentally we don't operate as organisms in an environment anymore. We operate as organisms. We have this symbiotic relationship with, of course, all these other human beings around us, but with all this technology and culture and infrastructure that's built up around us. So we talked a bit ago about 2,000 years ago, you'd be hunting and gathering for the things you need. Well, these days, we've created an entire infrastructure of hunting and gathering around us. We exchange hours of our lives for those tokens, this money that we can exchange for hunting and gathering. So we're not doing any of that stuff that I think psychologically and behaviorally fulfills us
right.
generally. And instead, we're working for this abstract idea of money and security. All that said, I think it means that the things we usually worry about aren't things that a human being would naturally worry about, right? I'm not being
Right.
chased by a wolf. I'm not, worried about my son who has dysentery. I'm not, somebody didn't break an ankle and now we've got to support them until they can walk again. Like that's not sort of your scale of concerns. It's more like, oh man, I got a traffic ticket and I got to go to traffic court. But we
Right.
have the same kind of urgency that you would naturally associate with an impending famine because our worries are so different. So between this like extended human organism per person of all this infrastructure and technology and culture around us, I am not only me, the organism. I am my cell phone, essentially, I'm this hybrid being between myself and this tool. My computer, I'm talking to you through. My car, all the roads that I ever travel on, all the places that I shop in, like that is an extension of me in a way mentally, and thus I think it it informs the priorities and problems that I actually perceive to be real problems and priorities.
Right.
When reasonably speaking, most of them aren't.
Yeah. It's like we're designed to worry about our environment and stress
Yes.
about it. And then when there's really no immediate threat, we make it up ourselves.
You find one. Yeah.
Yeah.
You seek patterns to avoid problems.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you make up patterns. Yeah. It's just interesting. Or you see patterns where there aren't any, in other words, yeah. But that's very true. And I
Or
think
you
what, because psychology came around early 1800s, late 1800s, Freud, early
Something.
1900s, I think. But that's like we were kind of coming out of that survival mentality. And so we had time because we did have a roof over our head. We did have jobs. We did have whatever we needed more so than hunting and gathering. So we had more time to look inward and see okay, now I got to work on me. Now I got to make myself more sociable, make myself more this, more that, whatever the case is, because we don't have those external threats anymore.
Right. We don't have something prioritizing us as a people.
Right.
And I'm sure throughout history, you down to a microcosm of a single family unit in a single group of animal skins stretched over a wooden frame. There's always going to be some kind of renegade creating problems for everybody.
Right.
Always. But broadly speaking, we all have the same priorities. Let's not get hurt. Let's make sure we don't starve to death, and let's stay warm. Like
Right.
and those are imminent no matter what. And sometimes like somebody uses the wrong tone with me at work and I feel like I'm going to starve to death this winter.
Yeah. That's the kind of attack it was.
Yeah. Yeah, because
That's
I have
good
I have
point.
nothing keeping me honest. And there are certainly rude awakenings that happen to human beings, but thank God we live in a nation that's stable, and we don't have to face those things most
Right.
of the time, not as a group of people. It happens in micro all the time, of course, but
Yeah. Yeah, but we get to watch other people experiencing it.
yeah.
That does
Yeah.
a couple of things. It either invokes
So
gratitude or fear, which, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's where I think the world is at now. I personally think we are heading towards a dystopian kind of realism. It's gonna reality, a dystopian reality that's gonna happen where the ultra rich are gonna be what's left, and the super poor, and that's it. There's nothing in between. So I don't know how soon that's gonna happen, but that's just what I think. That's just my own conspiracy stuff as far as like our way of life is concerned.
as fewer and fewer entities own more and more, it feels inevitable.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I said, as fewer and fewer entities own more and more, it feels inevitable.
Right. Because those are the guys that come in and muck things up. They want what
Well,
you have. They're not content with what they have. They want what you have too.
consider a publicly traded company, period, in the States.
Yeah.
They have a fiduciary responsibility to continue to try to pull in increased returns quarter over quarter over quarter over quarter. You extend that idea even not to a publicly traded company. Let's say a privately traded company with stock that they sell. That happens all the time. You can do it with a landscaping business.
Right.
Well, your contract can state that you must have the same kind of responsibilities that a CEO and CFO have towards their shareholders in a publicly traded company.
Right.
Well, but if you've got these like a private equity company that has that kind of obligation to its shareholders, even if it's not publicly traded, they have to pursue this concept of infinite growth.
Yeah.
There isn't just let's get enough and let dividends come in. It's more and more and more and more. And that therefore we see more and more owned by fewer and fewer.
Because they're the
And
ones that can afford it.
eventually that has to collapse under its own weight. But
Right.
the longer you go with that kind of snowball effect, the worse that collapse is going to be.
You play video games, right?
Yes.
Have you played Cyberpunk 2077?
I haven't.
Man, you really should. If you like RPGs.
I do
I
like
like story
RPGs. I
games.
was looking at it this morning. I like CD Projekt Red too. I like Witcher.
Oh yeah, Witcher 3.
Yeah.
It's a really good game that just hints on that. It's about the book, and the tabletop games from that they made already. But just hints on that kind of dystopian look and the corporatism, just everything owned by one, two, or three corporations, and for the better of the shareholders and for more profit.
That's all that
Yeah.
matters. No. Have you seen Johnny Mnemonic with Keanu Reeves?
I have.
That's very similar to the game he's playing.
Yes, it would be.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I tried to get him to watch it yesterday, but it's a little too old and cheesy for him because it's 96. I think that movie came out.
Yeah, it's such a fun idea, Anthony. Get over yourself.
Hey, I like that. It was just
we were also talking a lot
The-
too.
we were
Wait.
talking. Yeah, he left that
Oh.
part out that we were
Yeah.
talking.
I threw
Oh,
it
I
in there
see.
right now.
A dolphin that can store all the important stuff. A guy with a laser on his thumb. Like that's
Hey,
all
that
the-
was
all
the
the
Wire
bad
thing.
guys-
That was pretty
That was cool.
all the bad guys are Japanese. Japanese
Yeah.
company, man.
That's very like common in dystopian depictions. Is like
Yeah.
the Asian influence.
Well,
And
in
I
that
don't-
80s and 90s, the Japanese had a lot. I mean, and they were making, and we were getting everything from Japan.
Well, you know where that comes from, right? Like this cultural trope of the evil Japanese businessman.
Huh.
It
Anime.
comes from the real estate spec. Yep. And anime and manga,
Huh.
and creating all of these villains, this villain trope out of the real estate speculators in the late 80s and early 90s.
Really?
Japan had this vicious race to control as much land possible in Kyoto, Tokyo, like the big cities, that at one point the property value in certain parts of Tokyo was like 15 times the most expensive real estate in Manhattan.
Wow.
And then it collapsed.
Mm.
It popped. Lots of people lost a lot of money. But that whole trope, who is it? Frieza from Dragon Ball is based on the same kind of people.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't watch Dragon Ball.
The emperor who just wants to conquer more and more and more and more and more.
Right.
It was based
Yeah.
off. Oh wow.
Based on real
But
estate speculation.
That's kind of what happens, though, right? People get in power and they want more of it. I
Or
mean,
they're
that's-
obligated to do this.
Oh man, now they're obligated to
Because
with the
because they
profits.
yeah. You essentially take loans from people when you get investors. You're
Yeah.
Yeah, you're taking loans and you agree on repayment terms. And sometimes those repayment terms don't say I'm going to pay you X amount of money by X amount of time. It's going to say I have to make you money. I have to make you more money than you
Right.
gave me, period, forever.
Forever. Even after you paid it off. Yeah.
As long as you hold this note.
And I heard something recently, and I didn't investigate it or search it up or anything, but it talked about at one time Ford, and he's got his own set of issues that come along with him. But at one time, he was about paying his people. In the beginning when he was making his cars and paying his people well, and if they profited, instead of keeping all that profit, he would want to pass it along to the employees. Well, I think Dodge or whoever his competitor was at the time was like, no, you can't be doing that because you make us look bad, and we have shareholders that we have to take care of, and so we can't just give our money to our employees. And so they actually made a law on that. So like when he's saying that you're obligated to do that, you literally are legally obligated to take care of your shareholders, anybody that owns any stock in your thing, over your customers, over the people that you're selling to or providing a service to. So I think that's our system is meant to make us commodities and not keep us as people.
I don't think that it's happened on purpose. I don't think that it's engineered.
Oh.
I think it is really just these short-sighted decisions, and a lot of it's regulatory. A lot of these short-sighted decisions, and you get past a certain point where you can't pull this stuff back or your economy melts down.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Right.
just a dog pile. You start sowing the seeds of this stuff way back in the day before America was a nation, with these gigantic investment groups like the Hudson Bay company that a bunch of people put together money and invested to get a return to explore the Hudson Bay portion of New
Right.
York in the Northeast before we were a nation. Those guys were obligated to do certain things at the cost of human life to make sure that their investors were paid back. Otherwise, they're insolvent.
Right.
You know, you just dogpile all these little things over time, and all of these structures that get bigger and bigger and bigger until you end up where we are now, where if you want to incorporate a company and you want to take investors, now your everything
You're
is on the
you're in
line
it.
if you don't pay them back.
Yeah.
And if
You're in the
enough of these
system.
big companies melt down, the economy falls to pieces.
Right. So how do you change that? How do you change that without,
You know,
creating that
the only way
dystopia?
to it's through it. It's going.
Jeez.
It's never coming back. It's going.
Oh, short of some major thing happening,
Yeah.
sunburst wiping out all technology or
Oh, sure.
whatever. But even that, I
Wait
think
for
there's
it to
contingencies
crash.
for that.
Yeah, there's no comfortable way to scale this back. Because, like, I mean, if we just had,
comfortable is key.
like, if Amazon, Walmart, who else is up there? Meta, if they just immediately, if their value tanked overnight, you know how many businesses must be so heavily invested in them here and abroad who would just
They would
fall
all
apart?
lose.
Suddenly, yeah, everybody starts falling apart. When they fall apart, everyone who's invested in them, everyone they support starts falling apart. It's a whole
It's a
chain
domino.
reaction. Too big to fail is a real thing.
And it doesn't really create an atmosphere for the mom and pop to make it come back either, because it decimates everything.
It's horrible.
Well, it's like any town you see that used to thrive, and then that business moved, and now they're all they can afford is drugs, apparently, because that's all that's moved into that town now.
Oh,
When they used to be a thriving metropolis because they had mining or they had industry or whatever, and as soon as they left that town, so yeah, if that happened on a national scale, global scale, forget about it.
blame a lot of that on the interstate system too.
Yeah,
You
there
know,
was.
thousands of towns that are only really towns because they made great pit stops for railroads
Right.
fall apart as soon as you have an interstate system and semi trucks.
Yeah, but even commerce. I mean, a lot of industries would up and leave because of outsourcing, or they failed, or whatever the case was, and that town was relying on them. So yeah, railroad was one of them. They would set up these towns for people to live in while they built the railroad, and the towns are still there, but people moved on, built up another town, did it. So you got a lot of these ghost towns along the old rail lines and oil places that were booming in oil, and then they stopped. They built a whole town around it. You know what I mean? They had all their commerce and everything you needed. And then those wells ended up drying up, and they had to move. But that town is still there.
Or all these little regional towns in the middle of that are like 20, 30 miles apart that would just serve all these farms around them.
Yep.
They're just gone because now anyone can drive 100 miles one way to get to Walmart now.
Right.
And they don't mind hopping into the old Camry to go do it. But once upon a time, it was the only way to get your stuff to sell and to buy was to go. You make a whole day trip with a wagon load of
Go to
whatever you
town.
got to sell.
Yep.
Yeah.
You got to go to town, hit the market.
I have
You
the same
stock up for the month.
thoughts. Same kind of thoughts when we go drive anywhere and I see all those little towns that are falling apart. Like, why was this as robust as it was, and what happened?
Right. Now it's just the way, and that's been forever. I mean, since the start of the colonies, at least, since the industrial age. But even before that, even mining for war, and metals and stuff. A mining town, same thing. You build a town around that mine, and then the mine collapses or it dries up or whatever the case is. And now,
What about
I
a
think we're
really
meant to
good
be
fishing
nomadic
spot?
people almost.
A
Like,
really good fishing spot on a river. Like, same thing.
dude.
Same thing.
Then the fish are gone. You got to move.
Yep.
Same
Or
with the
somebody
buffalo.
finds a good one upstream.
Yeah. Same with the buffalo. You had to leave and go where the buffalo were. You had to follow the food. But now we have cities, so you move to the city. And that's where your buffalo are. It's not all black and white. I know. But
No.
yeah,
It isn't.
there's I believe.
But all I know is that at a certain standard of living, I know that the planet doesn't support 8 billion people. Without all this infrastructure, with 500 million. I mean, I'm not calling back to the Georgia Guidestones or whatever, but 500 million maybe at that lifestyle, maybe.
Right. So What do you think of the political climate right now? Yeah, what do you think of the way things are?
I
Do you think?
avoid a lot
Do you?
because I
You
don't
stay out of it.
want to think about it.
I got you.
It's good.
Yeah, I think that unfortunately, um, in a lot of ways, this super short cycle we have of leadership, even down to like a councilman in the city, all the way up to the president of the United States, like it's a weird system when you expect people to accomplish great things in 4 to 8 years, or like mayor. A term limit in a lot of states is 6 years for a mayor. I
Right.
think. I don't think I'm confusing that with something else. I might be. But 6 years is not a lot of time for a cohesive plan. And unless you have a dynasty, either through blood or, just through political affiliation and nepotism,
Right.
Yep.
then you
That's how that
really
goes.
have no way to do even a single generational initiative to make sure that your goals are accomplished. So all these radical things need to happen in 2, 4, 6, 8 years that require the sacrifice of so much. It's such a stupid system. I think
Uh,
that our nation is too big, unfortunately. We have far too many people who disagree with each other and simply can't agree on anything. And we've got this political system where, unfortunately, you need like 10 years of a good guy to do anything.
right.
But it also means that you can have 10 years of a bad, bad, bad guy.
Right. And and see, that's what I'm seeing too. You're right. You do need a lot of time to make changes because we covered that. We're not really creatures of change. We're creatures of habit. But there are times that we've seen unity, like World War II. You know what I mean? After World War, even during World War II, there was such a unity, and afterwards as well, a unity of country because we had to provide for each other in order to do whatever in this war that we were in. So there are times that we've seen things move fast and happen fast because of the unity. And I think we're purposely kept divided to stop that kind of stuff from happening fast. And we have that excuse now. Well, you can't do anything in 4 years, or I did this in 4 years, and this guy came and wiped it out. So now I got to do it again. And they do that. Both sides do that. You know what I mean? So there's never any real change because they're always blaming the other side for it when there's no unity there in the first place, and then on our end as well, as far as the people go. And I think that's all designed because if we were together, I think things could happen a lot faster.
Oh, yeah. But at this point, I think the only thing that can really unify us is an alien invasion. Like at
Oh,
that scale, like you try to get my father, who's like a Fox News '80s conservative, to get along with some of my friends, 25-year-old super left kids in college,
right.
whatever. They the only time they're going to get along is when they're
Sure.
both on the other end of the barrel of the same gun, you
Right.
know. And I don't see anything that could do that other than an invasion of aliens. You could even have Russia. Let's say Russia and China get together and they do a land invasion of the states.
Right.
People won't even get along then. They'll say we should accept it or we should fight it.
I
We
support
won't.
Russia or I support China. Yeah.
No, no. It would take an existential threat, a truly existential threat, a coronal mass ejection, an alien invasion. The Earth's
How about
core
a global
collapsing.
pandemic?
Ah, no, no, no. That only kills
No.
2% of the people it infects. Like, no, that's not enough.
Yeah, but even so, during that time, I thought because I was the same way. If we had an alien invasion, that would be the only thing that would unite us. Then COVID happened, and I'm like, maybe not. Maybe even an alien invasion wouldn't unite us
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because there would
No,
be people that would, what I mean, it's just going to be, it's scary, and it's sad, and that's another reason for this channel too is to point out we have more in common. Even your dad and your friends have more in common than they have in difference. You know what I mean? At the baseline of everything. As far as your opinions and the way you think of things, I don't think that's enough to I think your dad and your friends should get along. You know what I mean? Because
well,
that stuff's not important at the end of the day. At the end of the day, it's you. You're the commonality between them. You know what I mean? And so that's just my opinion. That's very
we have the
lofty, of
same
course.
biological and emotional needs, the same human needs. But,
Absolutely.
but at a point, you perceive each other as making these devil's bargains that are completely unforgivable to get those needs met. And therefore they look at each other and go, "You're the evil behind everything wrong with the world."
But that's
And
wrong.
you're just completely incompatible when you act like that. There is no compromise because I'm not going to make a deal with Satan.
Right.
It's
If they think that
I've grown
heavily
up
on it, you're
around
right.
it. It's
Yeah,
so
it's true.
silly.
Yeah, I
And that's
don't. I have
where
an issue with Christian nationalists. Even as a Christian myself, I have an issue with Christian nationalists.
it's where you get shunning culture, you know. It's where you get these horrible political divides and this sensational horrible media like Fox News and a whole lot of a whole lot of social media on the other
Right.
side casting these aspersions towards someone who's politically diametrically opposed to you, assuming that their intentions are all horrible.
Right.
Their
And that's
intent, I
exactly
mean,
what it comes down to.
yeah, I grew up hearing the language that the liberals are evil. And
Uh,
it's like, no, they're well-meaning. The vast majority are well-meaning. They're not like Chinese spies placed in universities to subvert America.
right.
They are people who think it will work if you get enough people who buy in, and if they sell it a certain way, more people will buy in. Guess who else believes that way? Is the other
Yep.
side, is your side.
Absolutely.
They feel the exact same way. Our way will do the most good for the most people if only we can sell you on it and you believe us.
Uh, that's why we got to put those opinions away ourselves and realize what's important. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, it comes down to your family, your friends, your little community. You know what? And if we can build a bigger community through this channel, like get to know people more, and even be at the point where it's like, hey, not just because we're neighbors, but if Tyler needs something, he knows he can call Mike, or even Radu. If he's heading out to Virginia or the East Coast or whatever, he could be like, hey, hook me up with a spot where to eat, someplace to go, or what's good out here. If we can do that, I mean, that really puts a lot of that division away because it really is bigger than who we are. And I know we need to blame something for something. Everything that's bad, we need to blame something for it. That's humanity. We got to find the bad guy. But if we understand that there's just some things that happen, and that there's just things that happen, and that each individual isn't, now there's outliers, but each individual isn't trying to sabotage or hurt the next person around them. They're just trying to make their own way. I don't know, things would be a lot different, man. You know what I mean? And it is very like we are the world. Let's all just get along, but we really need to understand what's important because we're seeing the division that's being caused harsher and harsher every year. It's been getting worse and it's going farther. And I think it's distracting us from the real gap between the elites and the rest of us.
Yeah.
And it's always been a class issue. It's never been a race issue, a religion issue. It's always been a class issue. We're the upper class. We have all the control. You have to listen to us and do what we say. If you ever unite, oh my God, we're in trouble. So we're going to make sure you don't do that. Because we're going to do some stuff that you guys don't like, and we can't have you uniting against us. You know what I mean? And so I think that that division between us is intentional. And I'm just trying to be like, hey, we don't have to be so divided because they're telling us. Because when it comes down to it, it really
I
doesn't.
I agree. And at the risk of sounding arrogant, I think there's not enough deep thinkers, people that see past what's in front of their face.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I just think that, like, when I try to talk to other people that are maybe in my age group or that disagree with me, they seem to be very like black and white. This is that. This is that. There's like only one way of looking at things. I think that creates just a lot of the tension, and like people disagree and get more, I don't know what the word is, just more hurt about it, I guess, and more they go to like hurt people instead of finding out what they actually stand for.
Oh man.
I don't know if that
And
makes
that's on
sense.
both sides. Both
No,
Oh
absolutely.
sides do that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's just overall there's not enough like critical, like deep thinkers about maybe society or how people work. I think they think very personally, which I don't know. Maybe that's just common.
All right. Yeah. Maybe.
That's
Yeah, I
how
think
I
it's
feel
pretty
about it.
darn common. We we live very comfortably, and
We do.
it's very easy to see how much more comfortably we could possibly live if only the other guy would understand what you take for granted to be true. I think, Anthony, you're absolutely observing something that's 100% true, where I have been told these things make sense to me. If I hear another thing that is supposed to achieve the same goal, if it's not the same mechanism, it must be wrong, because this is what makes sense to me.
Right.
Right.
And you have terms and you have words and you have phrases that encapsulate that. I'm specifically thinking about Chairman Mao and his little red book, to be honest. But
Okay.
the Cultural Revolution, mobilizing an entire nation of college students in cities to tear apart anything old. I can't remember his three olds: old ways of thinking, old culture, and old something else. Old
Huh.
politics. I don't remember the three olds. But you had a little red book you carry around that had all the wisdom of the guy who told you how everything was going to run.
Mm.
And you're 19 years old. He must be right. He runs the
Uh,
Right.
country.
yep.
He took the country away from the nationalists. He beat the Japanese. He must be right.
Hmm.
And you have all these phrases that are true. And if somebody starts to challenge those phrases, they're a very dangerous person.
Right.
Right.
They're dangerous. They can't make you change your mind, because then two things. Number one, now I'm on the receiving end of the power systems beatings. And number two, now I have to evaluate what must be true if this isn't true.
Right.
And that's a
Which people don't want to
scary,
do. Yep.
scary thought.
It is, and especially in, I mean, and I brought this up before too. Like we're in a time of identity politics more so than ever before. And now to turn around and change your mind and your thinking on something, it's not just changing your mind; it's almost changing your entire existence.
Changing your
Because you're
identity.
because you're so tied up in this side or that side, or this position and that position. And it's like that's not the way life really works, though. You know what I mean? Yeah, and you're right. That people
Attaching.
don't, and I think that's intentional too. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, Tyler. Go ahead.
I was interrupting you. My bad.
I'm a
I'm
doctor,
hearing pauses and trying to jump in.
right,
I was going to say attaching good and evil to simple political mechanisms too.
right,
That's insane. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Past a point, like certain things that happened in 1933 in Germany, like past a point, sure, but people raise these alarms over things that really are innocuous.
right.
But you assume this is the next mustache man or whatever. And it's really, you cry that enough and people are just going to think you're ridiculous. And I think
Uh,
that's where we are now.
Absolutely, it absolutely is. But I think it's also to the point where people are starting to see that it's all. I think it's rigged. I mean, I think it's all rigged. It is the elite against the rest of us, people that have against the have-nots. I mean, it's time. It's a story as old as time. And we're like right in the thick of it. But I feel like it's becoming more pronounced. Like you're really seeing a lot more of it. Like it's really getting thrown in our face how
Yeah.
that gap is getting bigger and bigger and bigger over the years. And the oligarchy that we live in now that we didn't have 20 years ago. And it's just
Or you did and you just weren't as aware.
Yeah. You've
well,
got the
it was
internet
the
and TV now.
corporations, but now it's the tech giants. So I guess it's just a different, still corporations. It's still the money, still the money moving everything. But I think that's part of that is design too, and especially the division. You know what I mean? And I think they want us tied up in identity politics to divide us even more and to make it more concrete and to get our feelings hurt about every little thing, regardless of what side you're on. It's funny how people say snowflake, but both sides say it against the other one because they get offended about different things, but just as offended and just as passionate about it. So it's just really interesting, which to me points that we're more the same. You know what I mean? Like how similar we are, even though we hold on to these differences so much that I mean we have to because we're different. I get it, but you know what I'm saying.
I
I'm
do.
trying to explain it. I'm getting like myself in deeper.
Well, I had a friend, just, and I think I've got this one last sort of concept and then I probably need to hop myself, but um I had a friend who was quite convinced that if Donald Trump was reelected in 2020, he was going to arrest all these people like Hillary Clinton and Tom Hanks and Barack Obama, like half of Hollywood and
He's gonna drain the
deep
swamp.
state and not so deep state, like elected people. Yeah, he's going to drain the swamp, but in a crazy wild way. He was convinced, basically, essentially, that revolution was coming, and the person to lead it was going to be a real estate billionaire. Okay, but anyway, and all this stuff, he said, if people see, I know it. I just know it's true. If people can see the folks who are running the nation are these evil, horrible people who do this to kids, who do this to other nations, who collaborate with foreign and domestic actors who don't have the best intentions for the nation, who really have their own concerns, first and foremost, then we'll have some revolution. We'll start to take things into our own hands. You know, if only this real estate billionaire gets elected and arrests Hillary Clinton. Anyway, okay. Behind all this, I kept telling him, how far do you think it would take the average American standard of living to plummet before we actually have a revolution?
Right.
Number one, this stuff can only ever happen in the cities, okay, period. Because you think about the idea of if 10% of people in a 350 million population nation, that's a little high. Let's say 250, like omit kids and some adults. If they all got up and moved at the same time, do you know how fast the nation would just lock down and we would starve to death? You can't get trucks to move. You can't get trains to move. Nothing's going to happen. People like in Albuquerque, how long can Albuquerque feed itself if we don't get food in Walmart trucks to Los Lunas into town?
Right.
A
Not very.
week? No. People are going to be starving to death within weeks.
Or they're
You
gonna
rent
all scatter to the valleys where
you
you got
rent them.
farms. You know what I mean?
Yes, we have farms that certainly can't feed. They can
All of
barely
them.
feed the
No.
people
Yeah.
running them,
Right.
right? The people who are running them are probably eating most of their food from Walmart and Smith.
And then
So,
selling their stuff at the farmers market.
yeah, exactly. So, anyway, we were just having all this talk, and it makes me wonder, the point that I'm slowly meandering my way towards is what if we can get rid of all this division, what does the change possibly look like? See, here I'm a little gloomier than I think maybe you are. Because I think within the current political system and assuming everyone's law abiding, let's say everyone unifies, you either have revolution that's going to kill off a third of the country within a month,
Right.
100%, people are going to starve to death, or you continue to operate in the same political machine that created these problems in the first place, electing people who have these super short term limits, who really can't get much done in a long time. And when things don't happen quickly, the same fervor that led to revolution in the first place, even if that revolution is just electing somebody you wouldn't have elected 10 years before.
Right.
You elect this person, that same fervor that got that person into power is going to lead most people to be very dissatisfied when things don't change very quickly.
Right.
Because we're not generationally minded people, unfortunately. We expect, this person gets in office, our food prices are going to drop 30% in the next year. If that doesn't happen, they're a total failure. Not, hey, it's going to take 10 years, but we're going to drop the food price this amount relative to total income. So I kind of have this idea.
Yeah, but when you're using that platform to promise, to get you in there, people are going to be disappointed when those changes don't happen very fast.
Exactly.
But then it just gets blamed on the other side. You know what I'm saying? And so nothing ever really happens because of that blame, because we have that in place. And that's not. Yeah.
I don't think cohesion, unfortunately, I don't think cohesion is the answer. I do think something, a drastic meltdown crash is going to be the only thing that changes this. I think it's going to stay the same. But it can't stay the same forever, really. Things are going to start to fall apart. But I don't think it's going to happen nicely. And I don't think it's going to be easy and comfortable. And I don't think the United States is young, too. Like, just consider we've been around under a single, the charter of our government's been around since 1804.
Right.
Really, no, it's had this whole dog pile and waxing of all this regulation and change on top of it, but still essentially the same form of government for all this time. Who else has that? Nobody has had the same form of government for this long.
Ever?
Who?
Oh, this form of government. Well,
Yeah.
our form of government is derived from the Romans and the Greeks, right? The Roman Empire, how long ago was that? How long was the Greek Empire? So you're right. As like America is very young as far as empires go.
No, I'm talking under a single continuous government system. We are operating on a succession of presidents and vice presidents and congressmen. We are operating under the same continuous government.
And that wasn't like that in Rome under the Caesars, under the.
No,
Oh,
it's changing all the time.
I didn't know that. I
You
thought
kill a
they had
guy,
their
you reform
Caesars
the
and
entire
their
government.
Senate.
You suspend the Senate. When you start it again, it's a whole new set of rules. We're operating under the same continuous government.
Okay.
That's kind of what I'm trying to point out. Nowhere in Europe has this.
It's never
Nowhere.
been
Okay,
done.
if we're just comparing Western civilization. Japan's had like 6 governments in the last 70 years.
Jeez.
Yeah. Did you know that Brazil, as recently as the 90s, was under a military dictatorship?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So just these forms of government. Canada, I think, has been around a while, but not as long as we have. The UK's entire government was reformed in the 1970s.
Really?
Yeah. So we're operating under a system that is very old, and we're probably ripe for an entire reform. I don't know what that's going to look like, and I don't know if it's going to be better.
Is that what the benefit of the Constitution was for us? Because it was amendable and changeable,
That's
as
kind of one of
opposed
the
to like other
ideas.
laws. Okay. Huh. I really thought they had the same kind of stuff in Rome and in Greece, whenever, or like when Alexander the Great ruled, or I thought they
continuous government.
Huh.
We are under one continuous government. People succeeding each other in the same place, in the same title,
rule.
in the same office. Okay. Yeah, that is very
I see what you're
unique.
saying.
I'm talking about right now in 2026. We probably have one of the oldest continuously running governments on the planet.
That's nuts.
Yeah, right? It's something we don't really think about. A lot of folks will say, see,
I didn't even know. Yeah. See, it worked.
See, it's working.
Yeah.
It's the best one on the planet. It's lasted the longest, but look around. Look at what's happening. Everything that you've talked about having a problem with, everything that I see the darkness in.
Right.
Yeah, it's just wild. We're operating under a weird system that's lasted a very long time. In more or less the same somewhat consistent form. Just been an issue of scale.
So it's just a matter of time before that changes. That has 100%. To change.
It has to change, whether that's violent or not. And I fear if it's not violent, whatever replaces it is going to be yet another resource extraction scheme.
Right. Yeah, I compare nowadays to like neo-feudalism. You know what I mean? That we're pretty much serfs like we were. We have our houses, or we're locked into our mortgages. We have to stay. We have to work, and we still don't own it. Because we have to pay taxes on it, even if you pay it off. That really chaps me, dude. Like, that bugs me a lot the more I think about it. It's like you never own your house and your land, because the minute you can't pay your taxes, it doesn't belong to you anymore. And if it can be taken away, you never truly owned it.
I agree. It's a weird one.
But that really kind of, that even points to our freedom. They could change anything at any time. That one chick just got 10 years, or she got jail time for talking some crap, being pro-Palestinian, right? Did you guys hear about that? She left the net. She texted something about bonbons for Netanyahu and about bombing Israel, and they arrested her. Saying essentially it was hate crime and bomb threats and like all this stuff. So they're talking about already taking away our right to freedom of speech based off of these things, these hate speech laws and stuff like that. Yeah. But that's part of it, though, isn't it? It's like you're going to hear stuff you don't want to hear in order to have that freedom of speech, and everybody is going to, because not everybody's going to agree. But the fact that we have the freedom to say it is something we've always stood on, and something we've always used. I mean, it's one of the biggest rights that we've ever used.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And there are very few nations that have that protection.
That's true.
But it does start to, under a certain legal interpretation that I fully expect to be a Supreme Court case here in the next few years, you are going to start to see a much blurrier line between freedom of speech and incitement.
Oh, yeah. No
Incitement's
kidding.
huge, you know.
Huh.
Like January 6th.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Wow.
freedom of speech. You start to, if you interpret it a certain way under a legal structure and you establish some case law, it's like anything that could be said could be incitement to violence.
All right.
Anything.
If it's
I'm going to
twisted the
point
right
out
way.
Palantir's mass surveillance. Well,
Yeah.
you're encouraging people to fight it
Yeah.
and to be violent to fight it. That's incitement to violence.
Jeez. We're cooked, man. We are
It's a,
cooked.
it's a very, yeah, I have a very dim view, and I really just hope that this takes as long as possible to start
Okay.
to fall apart.
But that's what I'm saying. If we can somehow create community within this destruction that's coming our way eventually, or our kids' way, or whatever, if we can form community apart from that, so that, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's easier said than done, of course. We'd all need farmland. We would all need animals. We would all need stuff to help. But it would have to be a communal type situation.
Oh, yeah, of
You know what I
course.
mean? But you can't do that with a whole bunch of people. It has
And
to be
we'd
a
have
bunch
to
of small.
relocate for sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And then that's another question. Where are you going to go that's not federally owned?
How are you going to get there?
You know, go walk.
If stuff
Worst
really
case
hits the
scenario.
fan.
I can't, but we,
Yeah. Dude, I can't walk to Los Lunas unless I've got lots and lots and lots of water, or I will die. You know,
Right.
like that's the scales.
What
of
if you
these
follow
things
the
are
river?
wild. That's a good point. Yeah, I
You
could
got
follow
water
the
there,
river.
and
It's in both places.
I
Yeah.
mean, it can happen. That's why people settle near rivers, because it's
Yeah.
water. But even that's going to become a commodity eventually, like soon.
Yeah, that's scary.
It is.
Really
And
scary.
what bugs me is, like, because we're drying up, right? The Rio Grande is drying up, and Elephant Butte is drying up, and Colorado's drying up. But it's already been talked about seeding clouds, right? And making it rain where it doesn't rain so they can have. Why would we even have a drought issue in this country if we can seed clouds? And it's been told to us that, yeah, we're seeding clouds. We're creating rain where they have drought conditions. We're creating rain where they need this. Why would that even be an issue here?
Maybe
You know what I'm
don't
saying?
want a
Like,
bunch of colloidal silver in the river.
there's a bunch of it in our air now. You know what I mean? We got spray overs. They're spraying a lot of stuff on us. I believe in those chemtrails, man. I don't think they're jet fuel because they stop and go. And they're not. They're spraying. They've said, yeah, we're spraying stuff in the atmosphere to seed clouds or to do this or to do that. So I don't know. Like I said, I think a lot of it is organized to be a certain way. And of course, the people that are going to survive whatever change comes along, the most unscathed, are going to be the elite. And they're creating that barrier more and more now, I think, than they ever have before.
Well, they have the means to do it. So in their own
Absolutely.
self-interest, of course they will.
But can you say the average man would do that in their own self-interest, leave everybody else hanging out to dry to save themselves? Or if they had the opportunity to save others, they would?
It will be their first priority to save themselves and their family
And what they have.
and their own support structure. That will be your first priority. Look out for you and yours.
Well, that's my point. Is like if you increase your community, then yours becomes a lot more, and everybody's.
It sure does.
You know what I mean?
It sure does.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I just
Well,
sometimes
we're not going to solve it today.
What happens if you get a 1,000 billionaires in a bunker and their families? Assuming you had enough resources to feed everybody, after a generation, if you're still in that bunker, like, who's cleaning the toilets? You know what I mean? Who's serving? We're going to create a new hierarchy. What are your billions worth after a generation in the bunker?
Yeah, okay. Then what are they going to buy?
What happens?
Well, then you create it because you got the billions. So now this is going to be the currency, and this is what I have, and this is what we're going to use, and they'll get bigger and more powerful. And
the kids of the lesser billionaires are now cooking the food and cleaning the toilets.
Yep.
Like,
yeah, because that's the hierarchy of things in this world, right? The golden rule. Whoever has the gold rules.
Yeah. Anyway, I think it's about time for me.
Yes, sir.
This has been. I haven't talked on terms like this in quite some time, although I think about them constantly.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it when we have our own, just the three of us, no guest. That's pretty much what we're talking about, and it's just, it weighs heavy on the mind, and it's like I said, the communal support and building up is really important, I think, right now. And I like it. I like getting to know people on a deeper level and not just surface. Because when you do that, we talked about this a little bit, but you know somebody on the surface, you're very judgmental. But you get below that surface, there's no room for judgment. You know what I mean? So that's my intention here. And Tyler, I thank you for being open and sharing some facts with us. That's awesome. And of course, we
I
might
can't
view
say
things
they're
a
all
little
true.
differently. And nowadays, that's even another thing. That's a whole different podcast of what's true and what's not nowadays out there, and how much research you have to do to find any kind of corroboration with a lot of things. But I think also that's intentional. I might be a little paranoid in that regard, but that is how I think right now. And that's why it's important to have this show and have guests like you come on, Tyler. And I do appreciate your time, sir. And of course, it's always open to come back, and we'd love to have you again.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you,
Yes, sir.
Tyler.
I do. Thank you. I don't know what happened to Anthony.
He just
I think his
dropped
phone
off.
died. Yeah, I think his phone died because I texted him too. But until next time, thank you for tuning in to Three Minds, One Mic, and hope you enjoy the rest of your week.
Right.